Hello and welcome back to Shelf Center. This is Bryce. Thank you so much for stopping by. Thanks for liking and subscribing. If this is something you end up enjoying, you never know, it could happen. Hey, it's Tuesday, reviews day, I hope. This may be the only video this week. I am currently on vacation, and so it's kid spring break. So here we are with potentially just one video, if any, and maybe even not on Tuesday. So I apologize if this changes, and I'm wrong about that. But anyway, I wanted to get a review out for Age of Madness, Book 1, A Little Hatred by Joe Abercrombie. I'm a huge Joe Abercrombie fan, read just about everything except for the short stories, and now I'm actually currently reading Book 3 in this trilogy, so I figured I better get on a review. So let's do the normal review style. Let's jump on it. First things first, I like to look at the cover. The cover, this is one of the few times where I actually like the cover of the US version better than the UK version. That is very rare. Usually it's the other way around, honestly, on most books, but I do like the US version better. Is it my favorite? It's hard because those first law books, what is it, The Blade Itself, Before They're Hanged, and Last Argument of Kings, they just have some of the most iconic, best covers ever. So I feel like ever since then, I've always been kind of a little bit disappointed in Joe Abercrombie covers to some degree. This one at least is fine, and again, like I said, better than the UK version, I'll be honest. Summary. I wanted to get into the summary, a very quick one here, but I just pulled it off Goodreads. I think it's a fair accounting here. The chimneys of industry rise over Adjoa, and the world seethes with new opportunities, but old scores run deep as ever. On the blood-soaked borders of Angland, Leo Dan Brock struggles to win fame on the battlefield and defeat the marauding armies of Stour Nightfall. He hopes for help from the crown, but King Jezel's son, the feckless Prince Orso, is a man who specializes in disappointments. Savine Danglocta, socialite, investor, and daughter of the most feared man in the Union, plans to claw her way to the top of the slag heap of society by any means necessary. But the slums boil over with a rage that all the money in the world cannot control. The age of the machine dawns, but the age of magic refuses to die. With the help of the mad hill woman Isern Afael, Rika struggles to control the blessing or the curse of the long eye. Glimpsing the future is one thing, but with the guiding hand of the first of the Magi still pulling the strings, changing it will be quite another. That actually is a really good summary. It's essentially the first law is just continuing this series, and you've already heard there a couple of names if you've read the first law trilogy. Danglocta, famous in that trilogy, the torturer who's been tortured himself, King Jezel and his son, and Orso is even a name that's come up before if you have read through some first law. So lots of different things going on. This series is really it's the progenitors, right, of what we saw before. It doesn't mention that there's some Dogman in this. If you like Dogman, he's in this very, very kind of limitedly and like from afar, essentially, but he's even in this, and so that was cool. Again, cool to kind of see like, hey, what's going on in this world, and like it starts out there. Industry, we're here in an industrial kind of a revolution, but instead of under like capitalism, it's more under a feudal system, but maybe there's changes there. So it's crazy, lots going on. I'll get to the quotes first. Quotes are one of my favorite things by Joe Abercrombie. He's notorious, and I just love his quotes, but here we go. When you tell a lie, you have to sound like you believe it. Goes double for the ones you tell yourself. I mean, that's pretty good. The goal of government, you see, and the arch-lector prodded at the air with his bony forefinger, is to load the unhappiness onto those least able to make you suffer for it. And at least that's the goal of those on top, it seems like. So I think those are great, and we have a lot of that, a lot of political intrigues, but let's get to what I liked and disliked, because a lot of it all kind of comes together. So what I liked, Abercrombie is known for being character focused. That's, if you like a good character, he's got that in spades, as you may or may not already know. I thought this was a fine place even to start your reading. It's removed enough. You don't have to read the others before this. At the same time, you would be missing out on quite a bit, because even though it's been a while since I've read the first Law trilogy, I did recognize a ton of the names, and it is kind of cool to be like, oh, okay, this is like, you know, children of so and so and whatnot and all that. But because it's character focused, we have Savine. Savine is the daughter of Glokta, as you know, one of the main characters in the First Law trilogy, and she's beautiful, and yet you don't want to get on her bad side business-wise. She's one of the best characters, just absolutely fascinating, absolutely just pushes her way into things, you know, and makes things happen. Not always making the best of choices, but always exciting. Always something going on with her. Orso, you should hate him. I should hate him. He's like this lazy, good-for-nothing son of a king princeling that just is used to getting his way and not having to do much, and kind of going with the flow and the wind. But one of the most fun characters is hilarious at times, acknowledges his own faults even, and maybe that's part of why he's so easy to like, and just makes you immediately just fall in love. It's just, he's just great. What an awesome character. Because again, you're just going, man, I should not like this guy. And you kind of just, you can't help but kind of side with him too. Can't wait to get into the next books and talking about those, because there's some just, the character arc for Orso is just amazing. Then you've got Rika, as mentioned, and Rika is this is one of those where this is low fantasy. This, I mean, honestly could be just a historical fiction potentially, or something like that, just set in some other time. But this is the one character that really has magic, other than another character, and I guess limitedly a couple more that kind of show up. But she's got the long eye, and we're introduced very early on to her being able to predict the future. We're given some good, you know, some parts of that we start to understand very quickly. Oh my gosh, she does have this. And you got Leo Dan Brock, and Leo Dan Brock, very frustrating character, but a real character. I mean, just thinks he knows what's going on, is constantly running into problems and finding out that he doesn't actually know what's going on or how to do things, and but still plowing forward regardless. I just feel like a consummate politician is, if anything, makes a name, you know, making a name for himself in war, and trying his hardest to do what's right, but oh my gosh, in all the wrong ways a lot of times. And just what a great character again that Abercrombie's created here, because this should be, and again, this is one of those tropes, like Abercrombie loves to mess and play with tropes and just twist them all around. Leo Dan Brock should be the guy we're rooting for in this whole book, absolutely, without a doubt. And yet you're like, this guy's an idiot. Anyway, it's so good. All right, dislikes. This is one where I do like more magic in my fantasy. That's really, if I had to, I'll be honest, this is getting very highly rated, to be honest. But I'm highly rated because I love so much about this book. But the biggest is, if I had to name a dislike, I do like more magic. I like more magic in my fantasy, and this is as low as like George R. R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire, right at the beginning, right, where it's just, there's not a whole ton. But I loved the political intrigue. I love that there's just so much going on, and this is, you know, you're starting to talk about this industrial revolution, but also it's led by all kinds of people trying to get power, and should it be the people leading, and is that even the best way to do this? And absolutely a blast to kind of see this whole world in a new light. I'll be honest, and as a dislike, I would like to see Abercrombie do something in a different world, and something just a whole different place than this, and to not just, you know, we still have those great sayings from the Bloody Nine, but you kind of are like, all right, is it getting cliched? Is it getting hackneyed? You have Dogman, his kind of sayings, and they kind of permeate as well, and anyway, so there's just a lot, like, you're like, okay, you know, we've heard these before, and I love them, so don't get me wrong, but at the same time, it's like, you know, maybe in a different world we could get more difference and whatnot. I would love to see what more Abercrombie can do. All right, then if you liked this, you'll like, and I kind of have done this with these other authors, but I think they just fit so well together. If you liked Joe Abercrombie, like I mentioned already, George R. Martin is a good one. Very low fantasy, if that's kind of your measure of kind of what makes them similar. The other ones of just the kind of just punchy dialogue and sayings and whatnot that stick with you. Then we're looking at Mark Lawrence, Scott Lynch. I think those are really good that kind of do the same kind of thing. My rating on this, I've been debating on this, and I'm going with a 9 out of 10. I think I might be putting the other books a little higher than this one, and so that's why I'm giving myself some room, really. But it's hard not to just go right to the 10. I love Abercrombie, but I think that's fair enough to give this 9 out of 10. Very, very highly rated. Just as good as anything. I'm like, I don't know what my favorite is. I really enjoyed the standalone books in this universe. I don't think they are as good as the first trilogy. So if I had to, like, I'll have to tier list all Abercrombie one day. But I think this is definitely up there. So I think maybe above even the standalones. And I think, because again, I especially with a little bit of having read some more in this series, I'm going, wow, the places this takes us. And then the audiobook, the narration, Stephen Pacey is just amazing, just absolutely a good solid narrator that you absolutely can trust. You got just nice and sarcastic, like has a good sarcastic kind of voice when you're in these characters' heads, because they get a really sarcastic. It's pretty great. And so really, again, I just measure when I can't even tell that I'm listening, that it's just I'm part of the story. That's a great narrator, and absolutely this is one of those. So definitely you can't go wrong on audiobook. So that's my review. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for putting up with my voice. I got sick a little bit ago. Thanks for hanging out with me, and we will catch you next time. Bye.